What's up, meta nerds? This video is all about the Imperial-class Star Destroyer. It was manufactured by Kuat Drive Yards and cost the Empire 150 million credits, which was almost 3 times the cost of the Victory and Venator Star Destroyers, and 20 times the Nebulon B escort frigate. I should also point out that stuff like this rubs some worlds the wrong way, as this was more than the GDP of entire planets in the Outer Rim. But there was good reason for this increased cost, and although the Imperial didn't have the 80 concussion missile launchers of the Victory, it had much greater firepower overall, and could carry way more cargo, vehicles, and troops. There were 60 heavy turbo lasers, 60 ion cannons, 6 dual heavy turbo lasers, 2 dual heavy ion cannons, 3 triple medium turbo lasers, 2 medium turbo lasers, 2 quad heavy turbo lasers, and 10 tractor beams. At 1.6 kilometers, or just under a mile long, this Star Destroyer was the same length as 40 Sandcrawlers, or 800 Chewbaccas. This extra length meant that it could carry 48 TIE Fighters, 12 TIE Bombers, 12 TIE Landing Craft, 8 Lambda Shuttles, 15 Delta-class Stormtrooper transports, 5 Assault Gunboats, 12 Sentinel-class Landing Craft, 20 AT-ATs, 30 AT-STs, and 1 prefabricated base. It could also carry 36,000 tons of cargo, compared to the 8,100 tons in a Victory. Its complement of fighters were changed with the introduction of the TIE Interceptor, but they always retained 6 TIE squadrons, 72 TIEs in total, with one of those fighter squadrons being swapped out for the new Interceptors. To make sure everything ran smoothly on a ship this size, the Imperial had 9,235 officers, who directed the efforts of 27,850 crew, along with 9,700 stormtroopers. This gives us a total of 46,803 people on board, plus or minus a few Sith Lords and their creepy entourage. To get this whole thing moving, there were 7 engines in total, 3 main engines produced by Kuat Drive Yards, and 4 backup engines that were produced by Cygnus Spaceworks. These enormous thrusters allowed it to hit speeds of 975 kilometers per hour, or 606 miles per hour, making this mile-long ship faster than a TIE bomber. But let's take some time to actually go inside and around the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, and see where all that stuff I just talked about is actually located. Up front, we have a majority of the tractor beams, so that it can capture fleeing rebels and pirates, and just behind them are the dedicated power cells for those beams. There was an auxiliary reactor that worked with the main reactors towards the rear, which we'll look at in a second. Not to be overlooked are enormous containers of liquid stores, and there was enough food and water to last this enormous crew 6 years out in space. Here we see the much smaller forward hangar, which was normally reserved for VIPs, arriving in Lambda shuttles, but this could also be used as a backup hangar for TIEs. This room stored all kinds of components and raw materials, so that minor repairs could be performed on the ship. Working our way back, we see that these tiny dots represent TIE fighters, which are inside of the service and fueling bay, and this over here was the main TIE landing bay. TIE bombers are kept in a separate area, which has heavily armored compartments that help to prevent a chain reaction that would blow apart the Star Destroyer if its bombs were to accidentally go off. When deployed, they would also exit via a separate hangar bay located here. Of course, the Imperial class would be able to swallow ships whole with the coordination of its tractor beams and this enormous hangar bay, which is seen here after just capturing the Tantive 4. To coordinate all of these different fighters, bombers, and interceptors, the flight control deck was located here. But if we move all the way to the rear of the ship, we see the command bridge, which was responsible for coordinating all of the efforts on the ship. This was also one of the most protected areas on the Star Destroyer, due to its being located just underneath these 2 globes, which both helped to calculate hyperspace coordinates and generated the deflector shields. In between these was another array of tractor beams. Below here were the officer quarters, and going deeper into the ship, we see the enormous power generator. I want to back out here and just show you that the Tantive 4, which is nearly the size of a 50-story building, could be flying around inside of this massive generator. It is classified as a solar ionization reactor, and got the ship moving by generating thrust from the energy created through the annihilation of hypermatter fuel. During hyperspace jumps, an Imperial-class Star Destroyer would use more energy than the total population of some planets would in an entire year. You could imagine that something like this failing would be pretty catastrophic, so Kuat designed safety mechanisms that would be able to eject the reactor into space if it ever experienced a meltdown. As for weapon placements, 2 groups of 4 of the quad turbolaser turrets were located here. Ion cannon arrays were located towards the middle, right above those hangar bays, and the rest of the ship is lined with other turbolasers. These turbolasers were strategically placed so that nearly all of them across this enormous ship would be able to focus their fire on a single target. But perhaps the 2 most important things to know about is that waste generated from the 46,803 people was shot out of a port just above the main thruster engines, and that the entire ship was provided with a strong HoloNet connection. Well, that's it for the Imperial-class Star Destroyer breakdown, and in part 2, we'll take a look at its history, how it changed during the Galactic Civil War, and of course, our cool facts and behind the scenes stuff. Hope to see everybody in part 2.